Shant.
Hi all, I'm sharing my screen. Let me know if you are able to see. Can you please confirm? Are you able to see my screen?
I saw the Explorer, please.
Yes, yes.
Internet explorer.
Okay. Yeah, so we have two topics remaining in backend. One topic, one is Java 8. And after that, we have some tools. Then we will go for the UI. Database, I already completed SQL database. So all those things we completed in database. So here in this SQL tutorials, we completed this all syntax, select distinct element where, order by and, or not, insert into, null value, update, delete, top, max, mean, count, sum. So these all are completed, which is required for this database. So three layer of our architecture. So one is from UI, other is backend, third is database. So this one I have completed. Now today we will go for this, discuss the tools which is required. After that we will go for the Java 8 and then UI will be a start. So full implementation of Spring Boot with microservice based application by using full stack React.js. So that we will go for this real time examples. So today we will cover all these tools. So the first is Java. So this is the backend application. So while we need to create this backend application, in that case we need to install three things. One is Maven. So what is Maven? Maven is a build lifecycle. So this is Maven build tools. So Apache Maven has provided one build tool. So we if we will go for the Java backend, so either we will go for the Maven or Gradle. Every project should run either Maven and Gradle. So in if you will create a full stack application, so from backend side you have to install this Maven in your local or server. If you are using cloud or if you are using some server, there you have to install Maven. So we have to download this Maven and any of the versions we can install 3.x or anything. And once you install this, then we have to generate a jar for this Maven. So what is jar? So see, suppose we have a multiples bundles of class files is there, or multiples bundles of multiple microservice which have different class files is there based on this business logic. So for that we need to create a jar file. So once the jars will be created, so we have to run this jar. So how we will download this Maven, how we will install and configure this Maven, and then we have to run this Maven. After running this Maven, so this Mavens will create one jar file. So if you'll go for this Maven lifecycle, so just I'm going just some basic informations regarding these tools. So this is the Maven life cycles. So internally Maven will work like this. So this Maven life cycle. So we have once we so once we have a Java applications, that will be create a package, then there will be some internal test will happen, and after that they will compile all this Java file, then they will validate, and then we have to deploy or install verify and integration testing. So this is the Maven lifecycle which internally work while we will have a Maven clean, install, validates and all. So this validations will happen, compile will happen, then test, then package, then integration testing, then verify, install and deploy. And these all are the some common command which we will use in Maven. So Maven clean, Maven compile, Maven test compile, Maven test, Maven package, Maven install, Maven site. Depends on the requirement we are generating. After that, our applications, whatever the applications is there, that applications will generate a jar file. Suppose we have a card service, right? So this card service, if you generate a through the Maven, then it generate a one jar file for the card service jar file. So that we have to deploy it on server level if we will go for the production and all. So this is one tools. So Maven tools we will use everywhere. If you will see any project, we are using Maven or Gradle. Second thing, so once you have downloaded a Maven and create a project and generate a jar file, after that, right now most of the technology or full stack development asking for Docker image. So what is Docker image? So this is the second thing which we will go, Docker image. Just I'm giving you overview while we'll work on this real-time examples where we will see all this concept. So Docker image, will create a container. So one file of container like just image. So see here, after generating a jar file, so we need to create a just one container for the particular image. So we have to give some instructions in this Docker image file. After this image, a containers will be created for the particular jar file. So in this jar file, we have a doc image of this particular file which you have generated the jar. For that image will be created. So that image forms will be there, and what type of version, Java version required to run this image from this application, and what all are the libraries is required. So that things will be there in a single container, so that we can see Docker. So one Docker concept is there. Through that we have to create an image. So while we create an image, just a minute, I'll show you. Steady. So this is my project which I have, and inside this we have a multiples file is there, right? These all are the Java files which is created for Amazon web e-commerce application. So if you open any of the card service or any of the services or store service, card service, this is the card service. So if I open here, see this is Maven, right? So Maven, why we used? So in this Maven we have a pom.xml will be there. So through that we have to add all the dependency, and based on this dependency, this jars will be generated. See, this is the dependency, which means cart microservice will be the name, and this cart microservice, and having these all are the dependency which we are using for this database connectivities, actuators and all this whatever is required. For that we have to add the dependency. According to that, jars will be generated, and one main jars will be created for the OMS card service after that. So see, MVN is there. So in this Maven we have a multiple life cycles will perform. This is full stack here. So see, this is the full stack applications which have a Mongo React with a Spring Boot. So inside that also we have a Maven is there. So most of the project we are seeing Maven. So what is Maven? Maven is a build lifecycle which is used to generate a jar file. Now the question is, what is Docker image? So Docker image, once you generated a jar file, instead of jar file we need a Docker image. So how we will create a Docker image? So that Docker image, once files will be there, just you have to create one folder. file structures inside this here. Instead of pom, we will have some different docker image files will be there inside here in this main property file. Instead of this application property, we have some dockers file will be there. So that docker files will know like what will be the jar's name for the particular application which have to create the image, or how to compile uh, this docker image, and how we will create what all are the java versions we need. So for that purpose we are using docker image. So if you see what docker image, docker tutorials, this is the docker tutorials. So if you'll go here, so docker tutorials is used. This is the first you have to install in your machine, either if you are using local or if you are using any of the cloud platform, then we will go for the cloud. So in cloud also we have, and after that, see, after that we will create an image. So once image will created for the particular application, then we have to run this container. So in this container we need to know like what will be the version of java file, what is the docker image, and what all are the jar file path names and all will be there. So depends on the requirement, we will create a docker image, or else maven is fine. So maven build life we can use. This is the maven tutorials. If you want to go through this maven, so just learn of any tutorials point or java t points here. So this is the maven. So here we have a maven, how to set up this maven, pom, what is pom.xml, which we've seen, and then we have a build life cycle and how we will use, and how we are creating the project, how we are building the project and testing the project. So these only 3-4 part we need to know about maven. And for this dockers, this is the way which I have, like how we so these all are the installations of the dockers, and after that we are creating an image. The second thing is, so either maven or dockers we can use for the build. If you want an image form, then we will go for the docker image, and we will create a docker image, then containers will be there, and then containers will maintain through the kubernetes. So kubernetes, so we have a multiple commands is there. So what is kubernetes? Which need to be maintain the container. In dockers we have a multiple container we are creating. First we are creating our this is the card service, right? So this card service, or this is a Spring Boot microservice full stack project is there. If I want to create, then for this backend we have a maven pom.xml. Through that what will happen, the maven file will be like jar file will be generated, where somewhere in this location which we have mentioned in the pom.xml. So this jars file will be generated. Now my question is, if I jar file is generated, and if you want to create an image, then we have a docker dot if image files will be there. So that files we have to place here, and instead we have to mention the location of the maven jar file which we have generated for this application, a Spring Boot backend application. So that file we have to mention the path, and then what will be the Java version, and what all are the things you want, which is the port number, servers details and all you have to mention there. And after that, this image, this jar file will be there. For that jar file will be converted as a docker image. So jar file only, all the class file and all will be generated as a jar, but Docker image will have all those things, the jar file, and then Java version, then a Spring Boot server details which is required. So once you created a Docker image, then we have to run this Docker image. So for this Docker image to running, we have a multiple commands are there to run this Docker image. So thus once Docker image has created, then we have a multiple commands will be there. Through that, like same Mavens also have some commands is there, and through that once you see, these all are the Docker command. So Docker image means you will get all the Docker image, and then if you want to check the image ID, so we have an image ID and all. So once Docker image has created, it means like container has created, so we need to maintain the container. So this is, see, Docker container is there, this is the Docker container. So how we will maintain a container? So for this we have a multiples microservice will have a multiples Docker image, right? So suppose this is a multiple microservice will have a multiples. So these all are microservice. So for that microservice we have a Maven we already built this jar. Now my requirement is, once build has jar, then we have to create a Docker image. We created a Docker image, so each applications have Docker image, and this image has created a container. So we have a multiple container. So how we will maintain this container? So for that purpose we have a Kubernetes. So this Kubernetes concept will maintain this containerizations. So this is an open source container orchestration, we can say. So what is Kubernetes? It's an open source and container orchestration system for automating software deployment. And this is mostly used for this scaling management and originally designed by the Google. So this is mostly used for this all the containers, like we have 1,000 microservices there. So all this microservice we created a container. So how container can communicate each others? In that cases, Docker's hub or Docker registry is not prefers. Mostly Kubernetes is a way which we can handle. So if you want to go for this overview of Kubernetes, then this is the Kubernetes part. Just you can go here. This is mostly handle this all the container which is created by the Docker image and Docker container from the Docker part. So that will be handled through this Kubernetes. So these three tools we will use. So how we are creating how we are setting this Kubernetes, and then how Kubernetes image work, how jobs and namespace, node and pod service will work here. So that can maintain this Docker image. So this is the three things we have to maintain this our microservice backend application to this jar or image or container management. Now in SQL part we have already, if you are going for any of the SQL, then we have either SQL have some editors will be there. So you can use some SQL editors in your local machine, or you can go for this Oracle. So in Oracle already we have a CMD, so command level also we can run this query, which we seen in W3. We seen like most of the query we are running, right? So directly we can't run, either you have to install some SQL software in your local machine, then you have to run this application. So how you will run? So you have to run this SQL as a Oracle. If you are running NoSQL, then we will go for the Mongo. So you have to install this Mongo or Oracle, and then they will provide one command. So you have to run search here SQL as a command something. So you will get some SQL command, then open the CMD, and then you can run. If you want some editor for that, then we have a different editors you have to download. So depends on the database, we will go for the SQL or Mongo. So you can download any of the software which is required, either Mongo as a NoSQL or Oracle as a SQL. And this is the Mavens, Dockers and Kubernetes which we need. Now this, so database part, these two tools is enough, anyone depends on. And for Java part, if you want to run this any applications, then Java 8 or Java 7 is required in your machine. In that cases, we will run this any of the Java application. So from Java side, just a minute. So see here. So suppose for Java side, you can install in your machine Java 8. So Java 8 is enough. This will be handle Java 7 and Java 8 both. Second thing is for build. This is for programming. Java programming. Java programming. Now second thing is build. Build this Java code. So for that purpose we will use a Maven. So any of the Maven we have to install, and some of the tools commands will be there which we have to do to generate a Java jar code. Jar file. So this will generate a jar file, and this is the programming which will be convert a dot class file. So this dot class file we have to generate a jar. Once we generate a jar, then we have a dockers. So dockers is a Docker is a way which we have to create a ISO file from this, from where jar to ISO we have to create jar to ISO, and inside this ISO image, inside this ISO we will have a mostly jar file will be there, and then class Java versions also will be there, and server details will be there. Server details will be there. So that's why we are creating a image. So once image has been created, then directly instead of everything we have to put separately, just create a Docker image for the particular application. Then that image we will generate this image, and then we can deploy it anywhere. So the question is, we have a multiple microservice. So for that we have created a multiple image, that is, and this we have a multiple image, have multiple containers will be there. Like in this containers we have a multiple Dockers image will be there. So this container, how we will handle this container? Once we Docker image we created, and then by using Docker container we created a container. Now how we will handle this Docker containers? So we have a Kubernetes. So Kubernetes, we have a, this is the Kubernetes part, this Kubernetes. So Kubernetes is a way which will be handle thus all the containers. So suppose we have a one card service. So for that card service we created a Docker image, and in this containers we have all those things will be there. Once containers, so how and who will be manage all the containers? Suppose 100 microservices is there, 100 Docker image we created, 100 containers we created for the separate all the image. Now how communication will happen each others? So for that purpose Kubernetes will come in these pictures, and they will communicate from this each other if required. Like once the customer has do the orders, then it will go for this card service. Once card service, then it will go for the checkout. Once checkout service, then payment, then some order information, then payment report generations, and promo codes and all. So these all are communicating each other internally. So how it will happen? So once we have built this application, create a jar, create a ISO, create a containers now. So Kubernetes will come in these pictures and they will do all those operations internally. Once you install the Kubernetes, then they will manage all the container. Manage all the container. So this is the tools related. These three things mostly is the tools related. This is from programming related. Now coming for this SQL. So this SQL part mostly we can go for this either relational database, relational DB, or non-relational DB. So relational DB we will have a Oracle or any SQL, Oracle SQL or any others. But if you will go for no SQLs, means non-relational database, no SQLs, then we will have a MongoDB or any others, or ArangoDB or any of. So this is the SQL related tools software you have to install one. So this is the SQL related, and now coming for this, the question is, one is the DevOps side. So some DevOps, if you will go for the full stack, so full stack is the part of UI, then backend, nine backend प्लस, अरे वहीं हॉस्पिटल गेल है, UI plus backend, and then plus database, then plus DevOps. So this is the part of full stack development. If you are going for the full stack development, so you need to know about this UI part. So UI should have anything React or Angular, React.js or any Angular. Backend will have a Java. Database will have a SQL or NoSQL. And DevOps will have a multiples others command, like it will be part of DevOps have like Docker, Kubernetes, Maven, you can also consider here, then GitHub, then Jenkins. So this will be considered here. So we already covered here Maven, what is Maven, what is Docker, what is Kubernetes. So this is the just overview. If you want to go for this brief, so just 4 to 5 related topics is there for the Maven, Kubernetes and Docker. So now we will go for the GitHub and Jenkins. So this is a part of DevOps, and this is part of database as a SQL and NoSQL. And for this Java we have a Java 8, backend we have a Java 8. Either any of the other technology can have PHP or .NET also. In here UI we have a React.js or any other Angulars and all. So if you are going for the full stack development, so you have to understand about this DevOps tools. So these all are the DevOps tools which we have to understand after this. So every time you have to install, not every time, if in your machine you have to install Docker, Kubernetes, Maven, and then GitHub's come and Jenkins. So some of the cases what will happen, mostly we are going from this cloud platform. So in this cloud platform nothing need to be installed, everything will be there in this cloud. So if you are going for this AWS, so most of the company are using AWS cloud. So in this AWS have multiple services are there. So if you want to go for DevOps services, then we have already Docker is there, Kubernetes, Maven's, GitHub, Jenkins, and all inside this cloud only. If you want to go for this SQL related, so all the services is there in this SQL, either NoSQLs or SQLs, all this database will be there. If you want to go for this Java, then Java also will be there, but we already created this file and created a build. Now we need to run this through this AWS cloud if requirement. Then just you have to install this Java Maven, create a jar file from this backend application and deploy it in this AWS cloud. So AWS services, cloud services will provide all this related services which you need. All services will be there. So what is the, so in this DevOps, Dockers we understand, Kubernetes understand, Maven we understand, GitHubs and Jenkins. So first we will go for the GitHub. So once you write this code, like once you written any of the microservice from the backend or UI, so after that somewhere we have to post these changes from the central level. So central level we have to push these changes. So GitHub is a way, is a central repository where we have to push all these changes, whatever we have made this code change and all that, we have to place it there, and after that we have to have a multiple branch will be there and multiple things. Through that we have to review this code changes, and there we have to integrate that Mavens and all. So once our code changes has been approved, everything will happen, then it will go for this particular build. See here, Docker to GitHub tutorials is there. So if you want, you can go for the W3 also. So GitHub, what is the Git and GitHub? So this is the GitHub. If you want here. So what is Git? So Git is a popular version control. It is was created to this one. So that maintained by this, and then it is used for this tracking the code changes, tracking who made the changes, and coding collaboration. Like suppose multiple developers are developing with this microservices like cart UI service or cart services, and they have made some changes and you are also doing some other changes. So according to that we need to collaborate our changes and on their changes also. So somewhere we have to place like central repository where we have to place the changes, and anyone can see these changes, and once this changes has done, then we can commit these changes and somewhere we have to deploy that. So for that purpose we are mostly maintaining this our code as a central repository to track this code changes, who had made the changes, and coding collaborations and all. In that purpose we are using Git. So these all are the ways why we are using Git and how we will place this code. So we have to run some Git command. So while we run this Git command, then you have to install this Git bash in your local machine and GitHub somewhere. So you have to create a registry of this GitHub account, and then there you have to place this code. So we have a multiple repository, like if you want to go for Java guide also. So for this Java guide also we have a GitHub. So this GitHub have all this codes will be there. For this Java guide, this if you go here, so in this Java guide we have already many codes are there. All this codes related for different work. So see here, this repository is there. So inside that they have multiple repository related for all this code. So like that we have to place somewhere in this code, and we can see all the changes who all are doing simultaneously, and we have to raise the changes, and once we raise the changes, then Git will take the latest code changes, and then we have some Jenkins will be configured here. So through that they will take this code changes from the Git, and then Jenkins will have a pipeline so that will have a CI/CD. So this is for this code change, like a code repository. So once you have done this latest code changes here in this GitHub, then Jenkins will come in these pictures and they will take the latest code. Once you have in this GitHub we have a master branch and features branch. So every developers will create this card service as a for master branch to different features branch, and whatever he has made the changes, then after that they will code commit. So we have some git command is there. So these all are the commands is there. You have to clone the code from the repository. Suppose if some developer has made the changes and that is already in master branch, then you have to do git clone. And once you have cloned this, then you have to create a branch, local branch like features branch in your local. And then you have to do this some changes. Once you have made the changes, then we have a git add, then git commit, and after that we have a git push and then all. So these all are the operations you have to perform in your local, and then once you post these changes, then it will go for the central repository from local to GitHub. So this GitHubs will go and that all the changes will be there. After that you have to raise these changes PR pull request, so that pull request will come to the master, and once the master have updated the code after PR approved, then what will happen, Jenkins will come in this picture. So what is Jenkins? So we will go here. So Jenkins is a CI/CD pipeline which is continuous integration and continuous deployment. So whatever the code you are doing, this changes and it will go for this GitHub master branch. So they will take this code from the master and then continue integrate with this, and then after that they will do some procedures and all, and after that they will create some business operations like validate this. Some Jenkins life cycles will be there that will be fulfill this requirement, and after that if the jar code and all will be generated or images will be generated, whatever your requirement, docker image and all will be generated, then they will deploy it there. So that deployments also some configurations should be there. So where it will be, so this is the, suppose this is the card service. So inside this card service, see here we have a Jenkins file. The same way we will have a dockers file also will be there. So if you open this Jenkins file, what will happen inside this, everything will be there, like what, so these all are the Python script is there, a script based programming is there. So mostly DevOps teams is doing this one, but full stack developer also will know something regarding like how we will create a Jenkins life cycle and build life cycles and all. So this is the way where they have created this path, like whatever the code change will happen from the master, it will come here, and then after that they will do this one, build ambient build with sonars. So they will do some operations, test the code, and then after that generate some jar, and then see this is the deployment. So this deployment will have a PCF feature. See this PCF something is there. So for my case, if I want a AWS cloud services, then we have to mention some AWS cloud services and all. So how it is happening, if you want to understand this Jenkins, so Jenkins tutorials will be there. So if you open here Jenkins tutorial, then you will know about this overview, basic overview of Jenkins. So Jenkins is a powerful application that allow continuous integration and continuous delivery for this project. So how we have to install this Jenkins, and then Tomcat setup, GitHub setup, Maven setups, these all will be there. So you have to do, if you want to create a life cycle something from this project, and then once you created this life cycle build pipeline, we can say once we created a pipeline, so pipeline will be there for this particular project. Suppose for this pipeline if I want to create OMS cart service pipeline, then we have to create one Jenkins file, and there we have to see like what are the way to uh, build this class or build this package cart service, and how we will generate a dockers. Once dockers are generated, then how we are to validate, and how to deploy it and where to deploy. So this where means like PCF was there for me, will have a AWS will be there, like that. So depends on the client requirement, we will create a Jenkins file, we will create a pipeline, and once you created a pipeline, then Jenkins will automatically do that. So whatever we are doing manual deployments and all, so Jenkins automatically will take it. So if you want to go for the overview, so just you can see here Jenkins tutorial. So mostly we will use while we are going for the development. So Docker, Kubernetes, Maven, GitHub, Jenkins. So Jenkins mostly having on the CI/CD pipeline, CI/CD pipeline, continuous integration, continuous deployment. For that purpose we are using Jenkins. For code placement, like a repository, code repository, we will use GitHub. Maven for the build the jar, and if you want an image for this particular jar, then we'll have a Docker image. And once the Docker image created a jar, containers and all, then maintain the all the container, we'll have a Kubernetes. SQL will have a relational, non-relational database. Non-relational will have a Mongo, relational will have a Oracle, and then Java 8 we will use for the backend. And then cloud, if you want to do some operations in the cloud, like if you want to use a database as a cloud or a AWS clouds and all, so in this AWS, see here, if you open AWS console here, so AWS services, this is the official website of AWS. We have a multiple services are there. First you have to create a account or sign up your business account which you are working, which client and all, and after that we have a multiple services will be there. So through that, if suppose, see, this is the free tier category services. So if you want database, then we have some database services are there. If you want DevOps, then we have a DevOps services. If you want any other services, then we will go for that. So see here, database view. So see here, some of the database, these all are the product name of database. RDS, relational database. DynamoDB is a NoSQL database. Suppose your requirement is coming from the NoSQL, then we can use this one instead of going for the manual installment on in your my local or anywhere in this. Then we can go for this AWS services. We can take this AWS services, and NoSQL database we can use here. If you want relational, so RDS also we can use, or some SQL also will be there. So RDS is managed with this. See, RDS is manage the relational database services for MySQL, Postgres, MariaDB, Oracle also, and SQL Server. So we completed Oracle here. So if you want, you can use all. Most of the database has similar command, should be some difference. And this DynamoDB, either we can go for this NoSQL database. Like that, many services we can use from this Oracle. Just you have to create your account, and then all free tier category you can use from the different. If you want to create a web applications, then we have some web applications related free tier services which they are providing. EC2 instance, Lambda, load balancing, S3 and all. So through that we can go. And now we have a UI. So this UI mostly, so React.js mostly we can go for the some editor. So one editors we can use, either Visual Studio, Visual Studio. For this Java also some editors need to be used. So here we are using in Java 8 Eclipse or STS, Eclipse editor, Eclipse tools. But for this visual here in React.js we can use a Visual Studio, and all this respective if you want, just you can search here also, like what all are the tools we can use. So if you have a, you go here, see React.js tutorials is there in W3. So this W3, not here. So if you go for this any basic tutorials, so there will be some prerequisites and all will be there. What all are need to be know about before this React.js, and how you will do the setups and all. So mostly write the code. So for that code we can use a Visual Studio. So local development of environment, what all are the things we have. So they have different, better you can go for this documentation also, or if you want this also is fine here. These all are the tutorials. I think if you want you can refer this one. So mostly in React.js we can use a Visual Studio and Node.js, Node.js, React. So these things we will use, I think depends on this requirement we will have. So mostly at Studio and Node.js is fine, and React. And then I think this one is fine. If you will go for any full stack development, so these all are fine. So Java 8 we cover, the Eclipse directly you can download if you want to, and Java 8 also you have to download, Maven, Docker, Kubernetes. And see some of the commands are there, like a basic command if you want, this Maven basic commands, so which we are using on daily basis. So these all are the basic command which we are using: Maven clean, Maven test, Maven compile, Maven deploy, Maven install, Maven site, Maven test, Maven install, Maven compile. So these all are the basic command which we are using. Only 5 to 10 command only we are using on daily basis. So just click on any of the website here, and then all the Maven commands will be there. So which is, what is the use of Maven command? So like that we can use a Maven command clean. So Maven clean will clean this all these things. Then we have a Maven compile. So if you run this, then after that we have a test compile. So this test will be there. So that's through that, and then Maven package, and then Maven install, Maven deploy, Maven validate, and Maven dependency equal to tree, Maven dependency tree. So only these all are we are using. So if you want you can go for the top 20 data Maven command cheat sheet. So cheat sheet will have some of the basics and which is required on daily basis. Thus, so only 10 to 15 commands we are using. Just go for this 20 Maven command and what is the use of this command. So Like that, if you have a docker, so for the docker basic command, so this also have some of the basic command which is required. Open any of this, so like here 36 is there, so this 36 dockers command is there, but mostly we are using 10 to 15, not all. So see here, if you want to build this image, then we have some command is there. If you want to run this container, I told like once we created an image, then we have to create a container. So once, how we will run this container, how we will manage the container, copy from this one container, copy from two or from containers, like that. If you have requirement, then we have this, these all are the command. If you want to check the docker version, docker system information, docker help, so these all are the command. If you want to create a build, if you want to run this build, or so these, so this is a run containers. If you want to run the containers, so how we will do this one. So thus just check some of the basic command, top 5 top 10 to top 15, not all, like this. And Kubernetes also, if you have used this Kubernetes either in AWS or in your local machine, then there also have some commands are there. So this is the Kubernetes command cheat sheet. So once you open this cheat sheet, we have some so Kubernetes have a kubectl. So if you want from the cluster information, if you want Kubernetes version, then we have a kubectl version is there. If you want a config view and API resource and all, mostly DevOps team is doing, not we are doing. But if you are going for the full stack development, so you should know about the basic of this all, like what is all these commands. If you want to edit, delete, rollout, and deployment purpose, we have a kubectl.get deployment. If you have deployed some of the containers image, docker image, then if you want to get some deployment details, then we have kubectl.get deployment. Describe, edit, create, deletes, deployment and all events, so like this. So some 10 to 15 logs. If you want to check the Kubernetes logs, then we have some commands are there. So this is the Kubernetes related. And GitHub have also some cheat sheet will be there. Git. So once if you want to go for this, deploy this code in your central repository or somewhere, so either Git or any others, so we have some cheat sheet is there. So top 50 commands are there, which we have 10 to 15 is required, but you can go for this just overview of all the command, so that you can understand like what is the use of config, what is the use of config. And then we have a init is there, then add the file. Then once we add the file, what is the use of a star, then git status, git commit, git commit, and then git logs, git difference, git remove, git checkout. So these things already there, some of the information, just you can go through that, so you will understand all this git related. And then we have a Jenkins. So Jenkins is just a pipeline. So if just you can go for this Jenkins tutorial. Jenkins, we don't have any command lines or any commands for this, so this there will be some pipeline. So we need to create a Jenkins pipeline or Jenkins file. So like that we will create a Jenkins pipeline and get started with Jenkins pipeline, then create a use Jenkins work, use Docker pipeline extension. So if you want, you can go through that, or else we have some Jenkins file will be there, that I'll show you like how we are creating and how this will be happening. So mostly the tools which we seen, So this is the Maven cheat sheet. If you want, if you can just go, or else search your others website also which you want, or if you understand others website. So this is a Docker's cheat sheet. Maven, Docker, then Kubernetes, and then we have a Jenkins. So Jenkins tutorial, you can go just any of the Jenkins tutorial form. Just go for this one. So how we are creating this one, if you see here, so Jenkins installation, Tomcat setup, GitHub setup, Maven setups, and all things if you want you can integrate here, so that CI/CD pipeline will have continuous integrations, continuous deployment we can do from here only. So these all are the tools which we are using on daily basis. If you want to know better understanding for this, just go through that overview I have given for this. And tomorrow we will continue Java 8, and after that we will go for the UI part, React.js, or else we'll go for this direct UI and then full stack real-time examples, real-time projects and all. So I have given all this overview here, just go through that, and if you have doubt let me know. Yeah, this, any doubt you have? Or else tomorrow I'll continue Java 8. Today I completed all the tools overview, and database already completed, Java already completed. Now Java 8, sorry, Java is completed, Java 8 we will complete tomorrow, and after that we'll go for the React.js and live real-time project from the full stack development. Okay, thank you then.